stop by the Sandag booth, get some sunblock, stay cool, stay hydrated, enjoy yourselves today. And if you're hungry for some food, stop by National City. Just hop on the trolley and make your way down and say the mayor sent you. Have a great rest of the day, everyone. Take care.
Alejandra, don't go anywhere. Yeah. So thank you for those uplifting remarks, Mayor Blakespeare, Mayor Sotelo Solis. Now it's time for some feuding. Yes. So I want to invite Mayor Blakespeare. We are going to engage in some regional trivia. Okay. So Team 1 is Mayor Blakespeare. Team 2 is Mayor Sotelo Solis. And you will have teammates. Okay. So for Team 1, please welcome Sandag Deputy CEO of Planning Projects and Program, Colleen Clemenson. And she's Team 1. I'm sorry. And now, please welcome David Perez Tejada to the stage, also for Team 1. Alejandra, you're alone today. You're just too much energy. I'm kidding. Please welcome to the stage San Diego Deputy CEO of Business Operations, Ray Major. Thank you. Team 2. Yes. And also Hudson Harris. Okay, the stakes are high. The winner gets reelected. I'm kidding. Okay, so the rules of the game are really simple, okay? If you know the answer, just raise your hand. Audience members, help me out. If somebody raises their hand first and I didn't catch it, you can cheat a bit and ask the audience. I mean, it's okay today. Okay? I mean, it's not cheating, it's outsourcing, okay? Outsource. You can outsource.
This isn't chess.
No, it's community feedback solicitation.
Yes, it's community feedback solicitation, exactly. And so, are you guys ready? Are you guys ready? Who's gonna win? Team 1 or Team 2? Okay, it's a pretty divided crowd, I'm gonna say. All right, let's start. Question number 1.
Just raise our hand, right?
Yes. Okay. How many electric vehicles are there currently in the San Diego region? You can confer. Okay. You can confer. Yeah, you can talk. You can talk it out.
Okay, we got a number. I already said it.
Okay. If you guys are wrong, we'll pass to you guys. Okay. Team 2.
5,000.
Okay. Wrong.
7,000.
Both really wrong. Do you guys want to try again?
20,000.
Okay, 20,000.
30,000.
Okay, I'm sorry, but team number 2 won. It's not 30,000, but it's 35,000. And by 2025, the number is expected to increase to 110,000. I mean, with the gas prices, yeah. Okay, are you guys ready for question number 2? Question number 2, okay. All right. How many cubic yards of sand has Sandag placed onto our region's beaches in the last 20 years? I'll give you a clue. It's not in the hundreds. It's not in the thousands. It's in the millions.
Anybody know? How many cubic yards of sand? Right here.
Okay.
54 million.
Wrong.
Tons.
I'm sorry. Wrong. A bit high. A bit high. Okay. Okay, wrong as well. So it's like cubic yards. So
22 million.
no, high. That's too high. Guys want to guess?
15.
Okay, I'm gonna give it to team number 2. Somebody said 4 million, but it's actually 3.6 million cubic yards, and that's enough to fill 1,100 Olympic-sized swimming pools. Okay, awesome. And Sandag has also completed 2 major beach and sand replenishment projects in the region. So thanks, Sandag. Our beaches look pretty awesome. Question number 3. Are you guys ready? All right. How many new miles of Trolley did the Mid-Coast Extension add to the blue?
11.
Okay, who said it first? Team 1 or Team 2? Okay, I mean, I don't know. I can't give it a tie. Anybody who jumps and says a number wins from the audience. Okay, I'm gonna have to give it to Team 2. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, question number 4. By what percentage is the new Otay Mesa East Port of Entry expected to cut wait times across all the ports of entry on opening day? 15%. Okay, 15%? Percentage. 30%. Okay.
Okay, we want to guess again.
Okay, guess.
50%.
Okay.
90%.
We're going to go 90%.
Team 1, 50%. That's half the wait time. That's incredible. Okay. And question number 5. Is somebody counting this? Because I don't know who's winning. Okay, 2 and 2. It's the tiebreaker.
2 to 1.
Tiebreaker.
It's question 5.
It's question 5, so it is a tiebreaker. Okay, we're just gonna say you guys are tied because I love tension. Okay. How many miles of bikeways has Sandag built throughout the region?
110,000.
Okay.
110.
Okay. That's ambitious. That's ambitious as well.
Anybody? Okay. It's in the 60s.
Yeah, 60s?
She's
26 miles.
Okay, we don't want to know her.
Team 2, it's actually 23 miles.
What do you count? I need to know what was counted because
Okay, wait. I mean, there is a bonus question. Do you guys want a bonus question, to even it out?
that's how many total.
Okay. How many miles are under construction right now?
How many?
18.
How many miles are under construction right now?
6.
10.
Okay, team number 1, it's actually 11. So, you guys are tied again.
3 and 3.
Okay, this is the last one. Oh no, there's 2 more. Okay, I'm just gonna skip to the last one because I can't take this tension anymore. And I don't want to sow any divisions between Encinitas and National City, and it's just gonna be like a war. So okay, this is the last one. Okay. San Diego region is home to the busiest land port of entry and the second busiest intercity rail corridor. Can you name what both of these are?
Yes, we can. Yes, here.
Okay.
San Ysidro and Losan.
Yes. I'm sorry. So our winners are Team 1. A big round of applause for our contestants.
You knew those. I did. Yeah. So it wasn't like we cheated.
Thank you guys so much for participating. I'm sorry, Alejandra. You have to leave your mayoral seat today. Thanks again so much. And now we're going to hear from some comments. I love the animosity, and now there's love. So full circle. Okay, perfect. Colleen, do you want to speak? Perfect.
Thank you so much, and thank you everybody for being here. I'm Colleen Clemenson. I'm one of the deputy CEOs at Sandag, and
Hi, I'm Ray Major. I'm the other deputy CEO at Sandag.
so we're really excited today to have our very first community fair. A tremendous number of Sandag staff members are out here, and I just want to thank them profusely for being here. It's a great way to bring out families, enjoy one another, and also get to know our San Diego community better. I love the trivia questions because they bring up a lot of things that Sandag does that many people don't know about. So first of all, we did build the rail line from downtown, Old Town, up to UC San Diego. And so that's a huge, big project, $2 billion project. Half of the funding for that project was raised right here from all of us, and the other from a big grant from the federal government. So these are the kinds of projects we deliver. I bet lots of people didn't know that we did beach sand, but we do. As we make changes in the transportation system. We also look at how we can address environmental quality. And if you have a chance to visit the booth that talks about our environmental program, you can see some really cool animals that we've protected. Part of that also involves putting sand back on our beaches that have lost sand because of the transportation infrastructure. It's really blocked sand from coming down from the mountains. So anyway, a couple of those things I just wanted to point out. So one of the things that we're really excited about today is to be able to talk about the future of our transportation system. We worked on a plan that looks out to the year 2050, and that includes all kinds of innovations, and many of those we're talking about here today. And so much has changed in the world when it comes to transportation, so we're really rethinking the transportation system in a way that can better serve us and give us many, many transportation options. And so Ray, what do you think about that?
You know, with all of the advances in technology over the last few decades, there's going to be a tremendous change in how we get around this region. We will have more changes in the transportation system in the next few decades than we've had in the last 150 years. At Sandag, we use advanced analytics and data to really understand what is happening in real time now with the transportation system to help make better decisions in terms of how to put infrastructure in place. And we've also started to partner with the private sector to implement some of these next generation concepts. Recently, earlier this year, we went out for a proof of innovative concept. And what we did is we went out and we asked the private sector to come up with solutions that would work here in the San Diego region. And we have some of them here today who are going to be presenting that. So I'm going to hand it back to Colleen to talk a little bit about that.
Okay, thank you, Ray. And a big shout out to our Sandag leadership. Chair Blakespeare has been an amazing chair and has really helped us do things that we would not have otherwise done. And same with our second vice chair, Mayor Sotelo Solis. So thank you to these two incredible leaders in our region. So as Ray said, we put out what we call a request for innovative concepts. We did that at the end of last calendar year. We got 18 proposals, and then we went through a rigorous review process and brought it down to 3 that we wanted to continue to work with going forward. And we gave each of these teams $50,000 to further develop and refine their proposals. And so we actually have them here today, and they're going to make a presentation. We're going to ask them all kinds of questions. We've got judges who will be set up right here to ask some of those tough questions. We'll even allow for some audience questions as well. So one of the concepts is the lead company is Cordoba, and they have actually proposed a train that would cross the border. So we talked about the busiest land port of entry in the Western Hemisphere at San Ysidro. How do we get a train that would go across the border there? So that is one of the proposals that we hear from. That one has received a lot of input from the press. So we've also, the second one is Beep. And so Beep operates autonomous electric vehicles. And this is a way that we can really rethink how we get around our neighborhoods and to and from high-speed transit. This is the kind of thing where you don't have to maybe own that additional car, and we have more access to shared vehicles, clean vehicles. And so this is a way for us to maybe pilot some of these ideas in different communities. So we're going to also hear from Beep. So thank you, Beep, for being here. And then the last group is really focused on technology and how we better operate our current roadway system. And I think that's a foundation of our regional plan, is all about how do we take the infrastructure that we have today and make it work better? What kind of technology can we deploy? Everything from how signals, our traffic signals work. I mean, how many of us were coming here early this morning and sat at a traffic signal thinking, nobody's going the other direction, why am I waiting here? Yeah, we can all relate to that. So how do we make the highway system work better? How do we manage what's happening in each of the lanes? Maybe close down a lane when we need to for emergency vehicles. And so that's the third concept that you'll hear from today. And for some reason in my notes, and I'm just blanking on the name of the company, I'm super sorry. I thought it would come to me as I was talking, but Gabnu. So anyway, thank you to the teams for being out here today. And with that, I think I turn it back to our MC, or to Ray, to our MC. You can say something while the MC walks up.
Thank you all very much for coming out. I hope you enjoy the show. And now back to Yanula.
Thank you, Ray. That was short and sweet. Thanks. Okay, So, I'm really excited about these presentations because as San Diegans, we can all agree on two things. Our love of the weather, okay? It doesn't get better than this. And our hate of traffic. Like, that's what unites us as San Diegans. Across races, cultures, everybody hates traffic, everybody loves the weather. So hopefully, all of these ideas will help our transit, will help mobility across all of our county. So before we hear from these new and exciting programs, I do want to go through a list of items. So again, I want to reiterate that we do have Spanish translation right now available. So if anybody needs that, please go to the table that's on my left. And I know that you guys are still in the tents, exploring and seeing all of the things that Sandag has to offer. I know that there's a lot of excitement where there's some animals, iguanas, I think, and lizards. Lizards, this is interesting too. Leave the lizards alone. Come to the stage. We're talking about traffic reduction, mobility, innovation, flying cars, maybe. I don't know. Is that more exciting than lizards? And I'm also want to invite the public to get on their phones. We're going to have some live participation, menti.com. So we're going to do some surveys where you guys can actually interact and, you know, see the results live on the stage so that we can all see what interests us, where the future we see, you know, as San Diegans, what, you know, we can go and look forward to as a community. Also, there's some emoji signs where the translation table is. So if you guys want to participate and interact with the presentations, please go get the emoji signs at the translation table. Okay, so again, Spanish translation services en español. Alguien necesita traducción en vivo. Por favor, acude a la mesa que está a mi izquierda. Ahí pueden escuchar todo lo que estoy diciendo y todo lo que los presentadores van a decir en unos momentos en español. So, also, if you guys don't have a cell phone and want to participate in menti.com in the surveys, there are some iPads available. Without further ado, I do want to introduce our judges that will participate in the question and answer section. So please join me in welcoming urban designer, author, lecturer, and educator Howard Blackson, public policy enthusiast Corina Contreras. Come on to the stage. Don't be shy. If you need stairs, there are some stairs over here to my left. Yes. And also Transportation Executive Director for Auxiliary Services, Josh Kavanaugh. Thank you so much to our three judges. Please don't be shy. Come on the stage. Take your seat. It's reserved especially for you judges. And I think that with that, we're ready to get started. Our first presentation is Beep Inc. Welcome to the stage. Thank you for coming here and sharing your concepts. I hope you guys are as excited as we are.
Thank you very much. Can everybody hear me all right? Excellent. My name is Jabran Hadsheikh with Kittleson Associates.
And I'm Jen Foote from Beep.
And we'd like to take the opportunity to talk to you about our concept for the ACES Mobility Network. Now, when Sandag came up with their request for innovative concepts, they were really asking the big questions of how do we improve regional mobility? How do we improve community connections, improve resiliency? But most importantly, we all understand how long it can take to get transportation done. So what can we do now? What can we get started on now that will really help the communities of the region? So for that, we came up with the ACES Mobility Network, which is about automated vehicles, beep shuttles, which will be connecting communities to a set of electrified mobility nodes and shared forms of mobility. With that, I'd like to turn over to Jen to talk about the beep solution.
So before we dive into the solution, I'm really here to talk to you about why. I think we can all agree that mobility is a challenge, right? How many people get frustrated not having enough mobility options? I do too. I live in Atlanta. I don't live in the beautiful city of San Diego, although I'm thinking about it after a couple of days here. But we know that mobility is a challenge. I'm a statistics girl, okay? So I'm going to try not to bore you, but I do want to talk about what the numbers say. So in the last 10 years, our population grew by 34%, but the miles we drove doubled. So what kind of challenge does that create? Obviously, congestion, right? But it's driven by the fact that only a quarter of us use public transportation. 3/4 of us prefer to drive alone in our vehicles. And most of the trips that we take, in fact, half of them, less than 3 miles. So what can we think about to create more options for shared mobility so we're not jumping in our car by ourselves and driving 1.5 miles to pick up a Starbucks? So another impact, though, and this is the serious one, guys, more driving means more accidents and more fatalities. They are on the rise, and the statistics are alarming. But here's what's even worse about that. 94% of all of these accidents are caused by human error, and that's where autonomous mobility can really come into play. We know that autonomous vehicles react at least 3 times quicker than a human, even when you're highly caffeinated like I am right now. So we're really excited about what autonomous mobility can bring in terms of driving a solution here. I also wanted to talk about another challenge, though. While there's more driving, there's a lot less mobility. One example I'm really passionate about is there are 25 million citizens in the United States with disabilities who struggle daily with reliable access to mobility. So how can we bring solutions that make equitable, accessible transportation available to them? So I think we can all agree that the time for accessible, sustainable, safe mobility is now. So this next video is going to give you a little bit of an idea on how we're going to accomplish that.
Beep ensures equitable access with proven technologies. Our autonomous solutions provide safer and sustainable alternative transportation for those seeking and needing it. Beep enhances mobility for all in various types of communities. Whether it's establishing shared transportation services within new and existing communities, or within urban centers where existing transit networks seek to establish greater connectivity, Beep creates a seamless passenger experience. Our engagement with all members of the community makes Beep accessible and ensures riders' needs are addressed today and for the future. Those needs drive the development of our technology, meant to provide the continuous oversight and monitoring required for a safe, reliable, and world-class passenger experience. Our proven turnkey software and services, combined with the best-of-breed autonomous platforms today and those available in the future, provide for the safest implementation of autonomous networks that are dynamic, personalized, and reliable. It's an evolution that can only happen when user experience is paramount for all members of the community. With Beep Autonomous Mobility Solutions, life is better in motion.
So that was great. Thanking my Chief Marketing Officer here for putting that video together for us. But I wanted to talk about a little bit about the benefits of autonomous mobility besides what you've seen already. I think we can all agree, too, time is precious. Our MC talked about the biggest frustration is being stuck in traffic, right? So imagine a mobility system that gives you more productivity, that gives you time to connect to your community, get to know your neighbor, research a project, check emails instead of having to focus on driving. Time is precious, guys, and our concept is intended to give you more time back in your daily commute and mobility. So with that, I'm going to turn it back to Jabron to talk about how we'll do that.
Thank you very much, Jen. So of equal importance to how we get around is where do we pick up these vehicles? How do we make them a part of the community? And that's where we developed the concept of the mobility node. Here's a concept as to what it looks like, and you can see that not only are we talking about having the autonomous beep shuttles serve this, but we want to make sure that we're providing connections to the regional transportation network. We want to make sure that we're providing additional choices in terms of bike share, e-bike, e-scooters. And also, you'll see over here that we also are looking for opportunities for electric vehicle charging, not only for personal vehicles, but for all sorts. Now, why is electrification so important to this concept? If you look at where the market is going, all of the automakers are switching to electric vehicles. We're looking at e-bikes, we're looking at e-scooters. All these new forms of mobility, which many communities don't have access to right now, if we're going to give them that opportunity, we need to make sure that people have the opportunity to charge in their own communities. We need to make sure that all of these new providers have an incentive to serve these communities. And we also understand that this has to be done, especially when we're talking about families that don't have their own garages, that they live in apartment complexes or multifamily, that what's going to be and improve local community mobility with stops that are providing much more frequent stops at a much more local level. We can do this soon. This is important, that we can do this soon, we can learn from it, and we can build on that. So as the technologies get better, as the use cases change, as we see better charging capabilities, as we see better vehicle technologies, we can then expand this so that we're able to really provide an overall network of community services and mobility opportunities. So who does this help? Well, think about families that need to get around the neighborhood without a car. Providing them with greater local mobility is critical for that. So if you're dropping off your child at daycare and your partner needs to go somewhere else, you have one place you can drop people off where they'll be able to get around safely within your community. It's going to be helping businesses in local communities. More businesses are realizing that electric vehicles take longer to charge than it takes to refuel. So, okay, what do? That means if you're a grocery store, you're now offering opportunities for people to serve you. If you're a movie theater, if you're a different type of store, you're now able to build an experience around that you're able to capitalize. And most importantly, cities are now going to be able to use these electrified services to help reduce congestion, improve mobility, and improve the overall resiliency of our communities. Why are we doing this? Once again, we know this is a long road. Transportation and technology is changing dramatically, but this is something we can start now. We can get started, we can learn from it, we can scale up based on what we learn. We can be helping vulnerable communities that don't have these opportunities right now leapfrog into the future so that they're able to engage and connect with the overall network, the region, as well as with the future of their families. And most importantly, this is a foundation for longer-term opportunities. That if we identify these nodes within a community and we're able to start serving them, this is going to serve to help leverage greater technologies and capabilities as we move forward. With that, we would welcome you to join us at our booth if you have any further questions, and we thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you. Come see us at our booth.
So we're going to have a question and answer session now. Judges, if anybody wants to go first with a question.
All right. Thank you so much for the presentation. They're super cute, right? Aren't they super cute? So my question, it seems like there's a few constraints. One being how fast the vehicles can go. It looks like these might be like within the vein of neighborhood electric vehicles, which are constrained to 35 miles per hour or less. So I want you to be able to talk about that, talk about the capacity of how many individuals would be able to fit in this vehicle at one time, because we want to move away from single occupancy vehicles. And three, since depending on the range, what's the square mile area that you're going to need for this type of pilot program, and then for the expansion, so that way we can actually meet people's needs deliberately, and so people can have the flexibility to go to the grocery store.
Yep, absolutely. So I'll take that one. So these vehicles are designed for local community mobility. It's focused on the first and last mile solution. So getting you from a stop station close to your home to a regional mobility hub so you can pick up a bus that rides faster in the lane that CAVNU is going to create for us, or to jump on the train that goes across the border. So it's that short range mobility that's just a little bit too far to walk. The vehicles, you asked the question about how do we create the network. The vehicles can operate in about an 8-mile radius from the center of the hub where the communication base is located. So in order to connect all of San Diego together, we would end up having multiple nodes for connectivity, and we could expand endlessly based on that. Did that answer your question?
Yes, and just one other one, the capacity of
yes.
the vehicle.
Yep, 10 to 12 passengers.
Thank you. I love that we all picked 3 different hats from the same. That's good. We got our different perspectives. Hi. Did I experience beep in Jacksonville, Florida?
Yes, you most likely did.
I did. And so my question is how would you look at this place? How would you look at San Diego as opposed or in juxtaposition to looking at Jacksonville, Florida? Jacksonville, Florida, just for context, is one of the worst dangerous pedestrian fatalities cities in the United States, if not number one, top 3 for 10 years in a row, which I think is different than here. How would you apply this differently than you would in a Florida, just out of control sprawl roads versus here where you have older neighborhoods and a bigger context?
Yeah, well, I think that we can all agree mobility is a challenge not just for pedestrian safety, but also for people who don't have access to their own individual vehicle or a second vehicle. If families need to go in 2 different directions, it's a challenge for people who don't have the ability to walk longer distances to pick up a public transit hub. So it's really focused on meeting multiple use cases, not just driving safety. I will tell you, I walked around the bustling neighborhood of Little Italy last night. It was fantastic. Had the best Italian food of my life. And it was a little bit of hike from the hotel. So I did imagine what would happen, what could increase the bustling city of Little Italy or the community of Little Italy by being able to have a shuttle that takes people from a little bit further distance in San Diego over to that area.
And to your question about how San Diego and Jacksonville compare, I mean, one thing we applaud is the number of initiatives we see focused on active transportation and pedestrian connections. And that's one of the reasons that Kittleson's working with BEEP is that we focus a lot of work in terms of the planning and design of that. So that's why the nodes are very important to us, because we want to make sure that there are direct connections, that there are safe connections to where these vehicles are so that people are able to feel comfortable with this and that it really does become part of the community. And we've worked with BEEP before on deployments where we do tend to look at things from the pedestrian bicycle perspective to make sure that there are no conflicts or we can minimize those at least. So all modes are able to work safely and together.
Excellent. So thank you. This is a fantastic concept and exactly what we need regionally, where we need more shared mobility and last mile options to help support the fast, frequent, reliable transit network that Sandag's working to build out. With shared mobility, there can certainly be challenges on the equity front. And I think about as we saw the TNCs, the Lyfts and Ubers of the world, come in, there were 3 primary concerns about equity, and I'd like to ask you about how you would address those in this project. So the first was, unlike the regulated taxi industry, how do we ensure that these sorts of shared mobility solutions get to all neighborhoods? When choice is introduced into that for drivers as it was for TNCs, there was a lot of concern about that. The next would be, how do we make sure that the vehicles are accessible? And you started to touch on that. And then to the extent that we have backup drivers or attendants, that they are prepared to support riders of all ages and abilities. And then finally, how do we have a business model or a fare structure that helps promote equity for all members of the community?
Excellent questions. I'll answer the first question and then hand off to Jen. But when we talk about how do we make sure that shared mobility is equitable to these communities, that is really one of the key thoughts behind the mobility node and behind having it electrified, is that is a way you can incentivize service to be provided to ensure that if we're locating these nodes in vulnerable communities, that we now have quite literally the power to bring in new partners, that as they move to e-scooters, e-bikes, whatever the next e thing is, and I have no idea, but I'm sure it's coming, that they're all going to need power. So if we have that and we have this partnership with the public to incentivize this in terms of the charging structure, in terms of where we locate these, that's how we're really looking to try to boost the amount of mobility options available to vulnerable communities. And this is clearly something that we want to do in partnership and coordination. We want to work with the mobility hubs that Sandag's designated. We want to work with the communities to understand who are the folks that need mobility services and opportunities the most. And that's what we're trying to address. With that, I'll turn it over to talk to Jen about the vehicle.
Perfect. So all of our vehicles are ADA accessible and compliant. All of our attendants are trained to assist those who need assistance with getting mobility devices on the vehicle, getting secured in the vehicle. We have audible and visual cues to help people find their way through the system. And then with regard to affordable fares, so there are a couple of different things we can look at. One is having a fare collection system where users can register and they can qualify for subsidized fares. But we're also looking at some really innovative and creative financing structures that don't require the use of any public funds. Private investors can come in, bring that capital. Our partner Tessiac is leading the way on creating those funding structures, and so the solution will be free for everybody, assuming we can get those public funds in, or private funds in. Okay.
We heard free and we wanted a round of applause. So, yeah.
Yes. All right. Anything else?
Is there a follow-up? Real quick, applauding non-public funding for public transportation to me is a little interesting. I'd like to talk more about that because it's a public service for public people. Let's pay for it. Number one. Number two, is the innovation? Where is the innovation? Where is your thing that makes it innovative for San Diego's region?
The innovation is in being able to learn. The biggest thing that we've learned, my previous role as Director of Innovation of a firm, I lead our incubator within Kittleson, and the biggest thing we've learned is learn by doing. Do things now. Don't wait for it to be perfect. Don't wait for the future technology, the flying car. That if you want communities to benefit, take advantage of what's there now. And there's so many enabling technologies to autonomy and to electrification that can provide true benefits right now, that's why we think that this is the benefit, that we can start small. We don't need to look at a 30-mile corridor. We don't have to go through NEPA. We don't have to go through federal processes till I have grandchildren, that we can start now with the partners we have. We can communicate with our partners and really be more interactive and engaged in terms of how we plan, design, implement, and iterate. So that's truly the main thing we're here to offer, is that we're here to get things done as quickly as we can and as safely as possible.
And I'm going to go ahead and take the bait from my fellow panelists and talk about private investment in public transportation, because I thoroughly agree with you. As a community, we need to be saying this is important. We need to be investing in it. That said, to the extent that there is a gap that's left, and in this region we have one of the higher fare box recovery rates in the nation, where we turn to the individual users of the transit system and say, and no, you're going to pay the delta above and beyond what we have as a community have voted to invest in the system. If the private sector will close that gap, in contrast to our asking individual members of the community to close that gap, that creates a more equitable system for all. So where we can find opportunities to come in and get those private dollars, amen.
All right, I got some more questions here. What's the wait time? How long does it take from ordering the shuttle, or what's that even? What's that process like? How is it accessible?
So if you're looking strictly at enabling an autonomous mobility solution, it's about a 90-day life cycle. To enable the nodes, we're looking at a little bit longer time period, right? So there's the opportunity to turn the vehicles on now with a little more limited connectivity, but getting the nodes stood up is going to really increase equitable access. So let me turn that over to Gibran.
Sure thing. And just to confirm, so your question is not about the wait time for the actual vehicle for a person on the street?
So I'm just curious because from the time that you order the service, right, as an individual.
Right. How long does it take for it to get there?
Because it's a little bit slower, depending on the capacity. Just curious, sometimes we're waiting 30 minutes for a bus. Is this going to be faster than that?
It will be. In fact, we work with our communities to try to enable 15 minutes or less headway. So it really depends on the requirements for the community and the demand, but we really try to make these solutions more accessible, more frequent than other forms of public transportation.
Thank you so much to the judges.
Thank you.
Amazing questions and amazing presentation. Thank you so much for Beep. And, this is not so far technology. I'm excited. Thank you, judges, for your pertinent questions. Definitely very helpful. Now, I would ask the audience to go to menti.com. We're going to do a quick survey for everybody that wants to participate. So I think one of the questions is going to be on the screen, if I'm not mistaken, in a bit. There's going to be a code, so go to menti.com, and you'll enter the code that is going to be on the screen. But we seem to be having a little bit of a technological hiccup. So, okay, and we're up. So you can use the code 4578-5339, menti.com. And the question is, do you own an electric vehicle? ¿Es dueño de un vehículo eléctrico? So answer that, and we can see the question answered live. So let's see. Okay. I mean, it's 3 people have answered. Thank you, 3 people. I think it's this row right here. You guys are my MVPs today. Thank you. Thank you. Emojis. You guys are on it. Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay, 6. So it seems like no is obviously winning, but it's something that a lot of people are planning to. Like we just said, there are 35,000 electric vehicles right now in San Diego County, and in 3 years it's expected to almost triple. So that's something very interesting for the region, and as well, I imagine that Beep's vehicles are also electric. So anything that is non-gas oriented is something that is exciting for our regions and our pockets, obviously. So I think we're going to do, is there another question for the Mentimeter? Okay. Does anybody know what a mobility hub is? ¿Qué es un centro de movilidad? And we can answer that also live, and we see all of the above. 3 people. Okay, so I can't read what's on the screen. So I'm going to go a little bit. Oh, no. It gets worse if I go closer to the screen. So, okay, I see it now. So it's a place where different travel options come together, un lugar en el que se unen distintas opciones de viaje, a suite of mobility services and technology, un conjunto de servicios y tecnología de movilidad, a place where neighborhoods and communities come together, un lugar donde los vehículos, los vecindarios más bien, y las comunidades se unen. So it's all of the above. I didn't know what a mobility hub was, so thank you, menti.com. So we're going to take a quick little break before our next presentation. Thank you guys so much. Thank you to my MVPs. Thank you. next presentation with an amazing proposal for smart lanes. Give it up for Kavnu.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for coming out today and for Sandag for having us. I'm Mark from Kavnu and excited to share our concept and talk with the panelists. So before I get into it, show of hands, how many folks here when you were a kid had a vision for what the future of transportation was going to look like when you were older? Anybody? So for me, it was, that first, second bite of cereal and turning the TV on and just hearing that, meet George Jetson, and just starting to think about, how things would change. But, everybody had a different vision, but all of our visions probably had three similar outcomes: that it was a better experience, it was a safer experience, and it was a faster experience. And, there have been times, in this country where the two pieces that need to come together, the vehicle side and the infrastructure side, have happened. Whether it was centuries ago when the Romans started to build roads to, early part of this country when, basically we needed to create paths to go west. And that's where we saw these big leaps. And right now we are on the precipice of another one of those big leaps where we've got technology and vehicles expanding tremendously. Nothing that we've ever seen before. And that whether that's, what Jen just showed with Beep and shuttles, to going to someplace like Phoenix and being able to get in an autonomous ride share, to seeing robot trucks running up and down the Texas piece. But all this investment in smart vehicles, there isn't that same level of investment in making the infrastructure smart. And that's essentially what our concept is to make the roads as smart as the vehicles themselves. I hope you can see the rendering here with the sun. But you might look at it, and you can look at our booth as well, and it looks very similar to what we call a managed lane or express lane that exists here in San Diego on I-15, where people choose to use that lane and can get where they need to go faster. Our concept basically is the next generation version of that, where you're able to get into that lane and have an experience where you can take your hands off the wheel and your eyes off the road, and between the vehicle and the infrastructure, you can safely traverse the corridor. And what that does is it creates that better, safer, faster experience. Better from the standpoint of just simply not having to drive and being able to do something else. The idea that, when you're in your vehicle and all the minutes and hours that you spend in congestion, being able to use that time for something else is obviously something that we'd all value. From a safety standpoint, creating a more safer experience, folks are doing this stuff today. People are on their phone, people are eating, reading. So being able to remove that human error and be able to, start saving lives. Because, Jennifer talked about all the stats, but there's a huge opportunity here from technology standpoint to be able to make our roads safer and save lives. And then finally, around the idea of a faster experience, being able to use technology to provide information to vehicles so that we not just reduce crashes and the delay around there, but reduce overall congestion from just like things around smoothing out traffic congestion curves, because when we all see congestion now we just jam on the brakes, but being able to use technology to make it even better can have a huge amount of gains. We've been working for the last few months with Sandag, and understanding, how our concept that we're developing fits in, with the regional plan. Looking at how we can efficiently move people and goods are obviously very important. Providing affordable, reliable, and safe mobility options, which I think I'm going to talk about in the next slide. And then the cleaner transportation outcomes, both with respect to, electric vehicles using this infrastructure, as well as the ability to just coordinate these vehicles so we reduce emissions that happen with braking incidents and crashes. So, when we start to talk through, that's the vehicle side, but where's the opportunity that's with respect to transit? And these types of projects offer a huge opportunity to not just use this infrastructure for a better experience for those driving, but also to create space for transit vehicles so that they can cover long distances and cover them at a fast and reliable standpoint at a much less significant capital cost than exists with traditional rail projects. Basically just reusing that space. And the challenge with a lot of these projects, though, becomes you've got the space on the expressway or the highway, but how do you access that space itself? And that's where things, as we mentioned earlier, the opportunity for things like microtransit and micromobility to be able to create those connections. So what does this mean for a person, on how they might want to use transit? So it starts to get into the opportunity, you take Jane here, who gets to their regional transit route however they may, whether they walk, they bike, or they take transit to get there. Then they are able to get on that express route service using the express lane on transit, and being able to cover a significant amount of ground in a short amount of time. And then get to their destination and using that microtransit to get to their last mile. This is the unique opportunity that's offered with utilizing managed lanes for transit. The team we've put together has delivered a lot of these projects, traditional managed lanes as well as the technology. Cavenue ourselves are working with a number of our partners on the team on the first of this kind project in Michigan. We've been doing for about 2 years and plan to have the first piece of it on the road in the next year or two. But we've got people who deliver these innovative transit projects, put together these innovative financing projects, and ultimately operating these projects. It's a team that can actually deliver this future of innovation. So we've been working with Sandag over the last few months on, identifying a corridor where this makes the most sense, and this is, really important to us. And this is one of the challenging things when you put together a private sector team like ourselves and the public sector to get win-wins for everyone. And this is where we're beginning to look in these corridors of understanding where there's high traffic congestion and high traffic demand that would actually use the facility, because that's obviously very important as we're thinking about putting capital into the project. But also looking at where the opportunities are to improve transportation for everyone, not just looking at the corridor with the highest traffic volumes, but seeing where else we can find opportunities to provide better transportation outcomes for the people in the community. And then also looking at minimal impact to existing roadways. We're not looking to do major widenings. We think there's an opportunity to leverage technology and add it to existing facilities in a way that has a minimal amount of capital impact and environmental impact on the roadways themselves. So this is what we want to hear from you today. We have our outreach booth over here, where we're really looking to get a lot of input from you all. We've got a poster over there where we want to see, where your commute is. We also want to hear about that commute, some of the challenges that exist. We also want to know how you travel around San Diego and sort of where opportunities for transit are and why you might not take transit. And then we also want to really kind of get to people to start really think about the future itself. So we've got this activity called Postcards from the Future, where we want folks to be able to think about, the year 2032 and how you get around San Diego. We also have a activity that was designed for kids with some coloring and Mad Libs. The crayons melted. I have them all over my hands at this point, so that was probably not the best solution in the sun. But ultimately, as we fill this proposal, we think today is a really great opportunity to be able to hear from everyone here and inform our work, because ultimately we want to build a project that works for everyone, not just for ourselves and not just for folks at Sandag, but the people that are going to actually use it. So with that, I think we're going to take some questions from the panelists and have a few more of the team members come up so we can talk a little bit more.
So if we're able, would you go back to your slide about the various partners that are involved? I love that you've brought together a team that looks at the entire experience all the way from origin to destination and all of the parts that are going to be necessary for that. One of the great challenges as we bring new players and new solutions into the marketplace is interoperability. And how will you be working to create a system that can integrate new partners along the way? And what is the role for an organization like Sandag? What is the role for the public sector in helping support interoperability as you take on a project like this?
All right, let's start with your first question, which is the interoperability piece. Ultimately, we are basically a platform for innovation, right? That's the way that we see each other. That we see that, being able to innovate over time versus just getting in a vendor-like contract where you get stuck and you get the same thing. So developing innovation around contracting, this is very boring for a lot of folks other than the planning piece, but essentially developing service level agreements, right, that forces that innovation piece, right, and forces metrics that aren't just like, are you cutting the grass? Like, are you plowing the snow? Snow here, but you know what I'm saying? But, starting to put outcomes with regards to accessibility, access to jobs, and forcing that innovation is really critical. For us at Cavnu, it's the gauntlet that we're going through on just sort of the people that are building technology in vehicles and state governments, that these roads need to work for all vehicle companies, and ultimately start to need to work for it. And I think Luba can also talk to. Luba, there's lots of opportunities in sort of adding innovation and work with lots of partners. Maybe she can talk about the transit side as well, to sort of talk about that piece.
Yeah. So we do a lot of that first last mile, and so we are also constantly innovating. So we have AV projects, we have all types of, we're adapting to the neighborhoods that we work in, and we have partners ourselves. So we can do that first last mile connection and bring innovation, not just on the managed lane component, but also on the first last mile transit.
Hello. Oh, I think I heard it. Hello. No? Hello. I'm sorry. When you're sitting there next to Beep, did you guys make any deals or something? It sounded like they really work together well.
We've talked with the Beep folks a lot since this process has started, yes.
Yeah. I guess I just have to ask this. I'm sorry. What's the big idea?
Sure. The big idea is transforming, travel across this country by not needing to drive. And using it in a way where infrastructure is helping solve that problem versus that problem is trying to be solved on the vehicle side.
So it's like a right of way within the existing right of way. You're going to manage mobility modes.
It's basically the solution is simplifying the problem and providing more information to vehicles.
Have you ever worked with anything like curbside management at the local level that would fit with that first mile, last mile sort of?
Yeah, so the way that our company is starting is we're starting on freeways just because that's where the technology on the vehicle is right now, right? Both on the passenger car side and the level 4 trucking side. We have begun to explore arterials, both from a trucking standpoint as well as a transit standpoint. And then ultimately, curb is going to be a big part of that. That's what all the AV companies are beginning to tell us of, if we're able to see everything, we're all starting able to see the curb as well. But if our product team member who's right there hears me say that, she will start yelling at me and chop my hands off.
Yeah, I made him stop though. He's not done yet. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so our ultimate goal is to be able to sort of do this technology on freeways, arterials, and dense urban, and being able to use it to enable all forms of automated transportation.
And real quick, how dependent on you are is your idea based on a complete BRT network in a region?
Say BRT?
Yeah, you had bus rapid transit. Any dedicated bus, any dedicated lane for transit.
Yeah, so we think that there's a huge opportunity from the project, both from a space standpoint that you're creating reliable ability to get on the freeway, but also that this is an experience we believe people are going to pay for, right? So you're creating new revenue that doesn't exist today that can be used to then be able to provide additional transit benefits from a private sector project, which is fairly unique.
Really quick follow-up. I'm glad you addressed the arterials in there. In your highway example, you were using dedicated right-of-way. Are you proposing dedicated right-of-way on arterials as well, or other technologies to optimize flow?
So our arterial product is very, very, very early, very early. But ultimately, this technology on the vehicle is still very nascent, right? So being able to provide, a separated lane, physically separated, what we have there, we anticipated being in mixed-use traffic, right? So if you have a 2029 GM whatever, and I've got my 1997 Honda CR-V still, we can both use that infrastructure, right? Basically, the physical separation is able to reduce basically people driving in front of your vehicle at 90 miles an hour and shutting a system off. But ultimately on arterial, we think it's the same thing, right? Because the biggest challenge that, and Jen and her team can talk about it, pedestrians create a huge challenge for it. So being able to keep those separated so you don't have people and things wandering into the lane simplifies the problem for the vehicle side. And that's basically what we're trying to do, right, is provide more information and simplify the infrastructure in a reliable way in significant amount of miles so that, you know, the vehicles then can reduce the amount of problems that are on the sort of long tail of what they have to solve.
Okay. When it comes to buses, one of the issues is that we don't have enough operators for our current capacity needs. So, you know, I think it's great to be able to have a dedicated lane for transit, but it seems like this is going to favor single occupancy vehicles over other types of mobility. So can you address that as a concern?
Yeah, so my last job before I came here was running mobility for the city of Detroit, and getting people, operators, was a huge challenge. And part of it is because operating a bus is a really hard job, right? You know, you're not just driving a coach, you're, you know, fare mediator, you're conflict resolution, you're master wayfinder, right? You have all these things beyond driving the bus. So, you know, we start to look at, you know, how automated buses could start to use this as well, and not like fully autonomous, right? But just from a standpoint of same thing, right? A bus is able to get in the lane, and the operator is able to go hands off, eyes off, and begins to reduce the stress from the operator, and creates ideally, you know, what we feel like is a better job than exists today.
So just to follow up on that, what would be the target implementation? Because right now, even just trying to order a zero emission bus or even just a regular CNG bus is like 18 months to be able to get in. Doesn't seem like we have the technology to have a bus that is going to be able to connect in an intelligent way to this network. So what's the target implementation for this project?
Yes, so for our project, you know, we're looking to pilot in the next year or two in Michigan and get the first corridor done in the next 5 or 6 years. You know, the challenge is that you know, from a transit standpoint, the automated transit is, you know, further behind than the passenger car and the vehicle industries. You know, there's a few projects going on. There's one project in Connecticut with automated transit, but, you know, ultimately, you know, the transit industry is going to need to innovate. And I'm going to let Luba answer as well, because I might be going a little bit far from my skis. But, and, you know, becomes a, you know, sensor package that needs to go on to transit vehicles, and a software package. And the ROI from that is not necessarily from, you know, reduced cost savings from a labor standpoint. It's the reduced costs from crashes, right, and settlements that go out, as well as the reduced insurance costs by having safer buses. You know, that's where ROI from, in my opinion, from automated buses happens. If Luba wants to jump in.
I think that's
okay.
All right, thank you. I'll just say that my concern is that I don't see this as really addressing reducing vehicle miles traveled or greenhouse gas emission reduction unless we can have public transportation that can accommodate more passengers in one vehicle. So that's my concern with the project.
Understood. And I really appreciate that feedback as we're building this proposal. So really thank you. All right. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much for that amazing presentation. And it's obvious that you have an amazing team, an amazing concept. So thank you for coming to San Diego and sharing this innovating idea that, you know, will obviously help facilitate traffic in San Diego and other regions as well. So thank you. Big round of applause again, Avenue. We're going to go now again to the Mentimeter. So if you guys want to take out your phone and participate, www.menti.com and use the code 4578-5339. So this is a question. Which of these managed lane features is the most exciting to you? ¿Cuál de estos elementos de los carriles flexibles son más interesantes para usted? And so, new transit service connections, decreased congestion, increased reliability, or flexible usage. So it looks like we're getting votes in. Okay, it's moving around a bit. It seems that everything is pretty much important. So if we, Okay. Decrease congestion, I would have to agree. If that's not number one, I don't know. Yes. It's number one, of course. But I think every one of these options is something that is important in all of the solutions that we're looking for moving forward in the transportation sector. So let's go to the second question. Would decreased freeway congestion improve your commute? Of course not, right? No. We want more freeway congestion. Mejoraría su viaje al trabajo con menos congestión en la autopista. Nos encanta el tráfico. Me encanta. Okay, obviously, yes. I mean, who said a little? Okay, short commute. True. Okay. Obviously. So I think the presentations that we heard will help out a lot in reducing transportation, long range and short term as well. So we're going to take a break. I want to remind everybody that we have a Spanish translation service desk. Also, I know that it's hot right here in front, so get hydrated. Go where the food station is, grab some water, grab some ice cream, and there's also sunblock behind me in the tent that's behind the stage. If anybody needs sunblock, there is sunblock available. And
San Diego are uniquely interdependent. Together, this cross-border community represents 7.1 million residents and a labor force of 3.8 million. Our combined economies generate 250 billion in output and 70 billion in binational trade. We represent a mecca of diversity and talent, rich with cultural exchanges and educational opportunities. It is this unique international setting that can be leveraged to transform our future by exploring the concept of a binational trolley. And this issue, it must be resolved by the will of the people, of you, members of the public, and our binational leadership, because after all, both our economy and our health depend on it. Today, 30,000 people are using the trolley to cross every day. Our goal is to shift another 10 to 15% of current car traffic to trolley passengers.
Our concept includes 4 project elements. We propose an elevated guideway, like the Midcoast Trolley, that would extend the MTS Blue Line from San Isidro into Tijuana. This line will be about a mile and a half in terms of its distance. It would be a innovative concept because obviously it's crossing an MTS LRT line into Tijuana, which is quite innovative. We would be looking at having 4.7 million users in the first 2 years of this service. As you get into Tijuana, you would be met by an intermodal transit facility that would have an advanced transit clearance facility with specific innovations such as specific gates program. This facility will be connected to CBP, provide information on the passengers using the trolley before they cross into San Diego. The proposed station will include an inspection and security service for CBP. It will be multi-story in terms of a building, 4 stories level, where the 4 stories will have a platform to meet the trolley. This can accommodate other retail shops and lower levels for a specific concession space. We will include mobility technology at San Isidro. This will include a mobile app for an appointment system to plan your arrival ahead of time. It will have a process of security documents well in advance, making it enjoyable and efficient to cross the border. There will be an improved and technology-enabled trusted traveler program similar to Sentry. Lastly, we propose a new and improved San Isidro Intermodal Transit Center and Mobility Hub that will interface with CBP facilities to optimize security, safety, and accessibility for all travelers. This will help meet the needs of commuters, including enhanced amenities.
We know that in order to change our future and carry out this transformative vision, we're going to require the commitment and project ownership of all stakeholders, including transit riders in the entire Cali Baja community. We look forward to working together with our partners in the United States and Mexico to plan, design, and finance this project. To do this, we are implementing a comprehensive stakeholder engagement plan and a strategic communications plan that is binational in order to get us to a 10-year delivery. This project will require that we move quickly and coordinate simultaneous approvals in the U.S. and Mexico.
To feed that, I'm familiar with what's going on this side.
You know, there in the U.S. To do that actual thing for many, many years. We want to deploy that during the first phase of the project and have a complete understanding of where people are coming from, what their total travel is, what the average travel length and duration is, and with that information, then proceed with trying to make very informed judgments about what we can actually do as far as shifting the mode and what the ridership could be. Because once we identify that real ridership, then we need to do the system planning. So that's part of the first phase with the ITS technologies.
I just want to say that this is an incredible project. We know that if we can complete this in 10 years, the economic expansion between our region is just going to grow exponentially. And I would just say I'm all in favor for this project. It's beautiful. You know, I've been stuck in line trying to come back for 5 hours, and it's very difficult. Not only are you in the hot, right? So and then the smog and the congestion. You know, San Isidro has such poor air quality that being able to do a mode shift and get more individuals not in their cars and in this type of system is going to drastically improve the quality of life for our community members along both sides of the border region. So I just want to say, one of the most important things you said, stakeholder engagement. We have a lot of students that go back and forth from here to the other side, and I want to make sure that they are a big part of this process as the housing expenses continue to grow here in the United States. We also have more families that are choosing to have a lower cost of housing and are living in Tijuana. And finally, I want to say that Avenida Revolucion is a perfect place to really grow a mobility hub on the other side of the border. But I just think it's phenomenal. Thank you so much for bringing this concept and working so hard. I know it's a big lift, but I think both sides of the border are really excited to see this come to fruition. So thank you. I don't have any questions. I just think it's great. But please, stakeholder engagement. Get the students in there.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Good job, panelists. You all, I'd rather be with you people than some of the best people in the world. I mean that from my heart. This is phenomenal.
Thank you so much. That was an amazing presentation. I hope, as long as, I think everybody here hopes that these presentations become a reality because they're so important for our region. I want to thank the judges so much for being here, asking the important questions, and helping the public understand what's really at stake here. And thank you for being under the sun in this heat. You guys are rock stars, so a big round of applause also for our judges. So before we conclude, we have a final Mentimeter if you guys want to participate. Again, menti.com. Use a code 4578 5339.